Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Game Pass Grab Bag, your weekly podcast reviewing games of the Game Pass collection, bringing you 3D perspective varying skill range. I am the beautiful butterfly that emerges from the cocoon. Andrew, with me, our moth that easily gets distracted by bright lights, Keith.
Oh, hello.
That was weird. I don't know why that delay.
I was being distracted.
How did you not get that, Andrew?
I don't know.
I got it, Keith.
And with us, the one who doesn't know how to escape the cocoon, Liz.
Hey, guys.
And this week I picked the game. We decided to do kind of a palate cleanser, something kind of simple, easy, and fun. So we picked Cocoon by Geometric Interactive. Cocoon is a top-down puzzle game where you are playing a small insectoid creature who is going around and essentially trying to solve these mechanics by interacting with these globes that are essentially worlds within these globes that you can jump in and out of. And each one has its own different biome, different abilities that you need to solve these puzzles to kind of help unravel this cosmic mystery. I'm going to start, I guess, with this one. For me, Cocoon was a game, but not like a crazy. Honestly, I'm not going to lie, I wasn't crazy about Cocoon. I wanted to love this game, but I thought it was good. I thought it was fine. I thought the puzzles were good. Graphically, I thought it was really nice, but I wasn't blown away with it. I was expecting a little more. So it is a game, but it was just okay.
Liz, what do you think?
Oh, I'm going second today?
We're
Okay.
gonna shake things up.
Okay. I'm going to give it a game, but there are some things that I wasn't... Sorry, just your face after you took a sip of
After I
water.
stole your water.
You had this grin.
I was
Is
waiting
it
for you.
because it's mine that you had that grin? Okay. I'm going to give it a game, but there's some things that I kind of was a little disappointed with. I really wanted more story.
Yeah.
And then I think it was around like the 80-something% that I didn't find the puzzles fun anymore. And I kind of had Andrew take over, and I was watching him play, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I still give it a game because I think it's a cute game. I like the puzzles and mechanics. I was excited when I got one by myself, you know. And yeah. So, I mean, it's not like an enthusiastic game, but I think it's good enough to check out.
So, I think Cocoon is definitely a game. Not a definite game must play, but I liked it. I just really, really enjoyed everything about it. I didn't love it. I don't think there was anything that was really different or special in a lot of ways, but I thought that it was just enough that I had a lot of fun. And when I was done with it, I said, that's enough. That's good. I'm glad I don't have to do more of this, but I thought it wrapped itself up nicely. You mentioned a story, and I know that it's sort of telling one, and I get that it's in there, but yeah, sure. But yeah, I really liked Cocoon, and I definitely do give it a game.
So, getting into the story of Cocoon, just to first start off, that this game is developed by, his name is Jeppe Carlson, or Jeppe. I believe he's Swedish, so I don't know how you pronounce it, but possibly Jeppe Carlson. Anyway,
Jeffrey.
He is the main Jeffrey. He's the main director of two other pretty popular games, Limbo and Inside. Liz, I already know your answer, which is no. But Keith, have you played either of those games?
Technically, I did play like a minute, Andrew.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yes.
When we
Technically,
first
you played a
started
minute of
dating,
Limbo.
yeah, I paid a limit, but I thought it was too graphic for me.
I played some Limbo way back in the day. I don't know that I remember the game, but I remember sort of the art style.
Yeah, it was black and white.
Yes, seen
It's a 2D
Inside,
platformer.
I believe.
Inside was also 2D. That one was colored.
Anywho, yeah, I'm at least familiar with Limbo. So.
Okay.
I was so proud of myself that I actually remembered playing
I was
it.
shocked too.
I have a terrible memory, and I
Yeah.
remembered that game maybe because I found like the graphics so like I don't know the word. Not upsetting. I wasn't upset, but it was
Yeah.
because it was a
I have
kid
seen-
and
I've seen a bunch of Inside. I remember actually watching someone play it a while back. So I'm somewhat familiar with Inside as well.
So this
Probably
is
more so than Limbo.
this was probably my first disappointment with Cocoon. I've played both Limbo and Inside, and I feel like with each one of these games that this guy's creating, the story is just getting more and more convoluted. And so when it came to Cocoon, to me, I was just... this is what first didn't drive me in Cocoon. If I don't know what I'm doing, like after a while, I'm kind of like, what is the purpose of all this? Like, I felt like the first... there's no dialogue, so the story is very much, if you've played Inside and Limbo, it's very much, it's kind of open up to your interpretation, which is fine. I think this more might have been my issue, is maybe I just wasn't into one of these games this week, because every once in a while, I like to do that. I like to, like when we played Scorn, that was another type of game where it's like, oh, what is this game trying to tell you? But with Cocoon, I was just like, why am I doing this? Like, what? Like, I'm just moving balls around. Like, what is the point of this? And by the end of it, though, I was just kind of like, I was hoping for a little bit more of a direction when it came to the story, but I thought the story was okay.
Since I wasn't right, can I tell you what I thought was going to happen at the end and didn't happen? Is that a spoiler?
No.
I guess not. Yes, there's such thing as like an anti-spoiler of like...
Because what I was expecting to happen the whole time is like the very beginning of the game, you pop out of this little cocoon, and I was waiting for it to all cycle back into you popping out of that same cocoon.
I thought that was going to happen too.
And just being like, oh, well, here you go now. Play the game over if you want. Son of a... And it didn't.
Like a new game plus, but doesn't add anything. It's just like purgatory.
I figured like level select maybe at that point. But then also you can do level select really at any point.
Yeah.
So, anti-spoiler, that doesn't happen. So if you pick up Cocoon and you're thinking you know what it is and you think that's what it is, it's not. It's something else.
See, I think that...
Oh, no, go ahead. Sorry.
I think that when you have so little of a story, like everything else needs to be epic. And so, like, I'm not to jump ahead, but it's just like, if you're not going to have like a concrete story, like it needs epic music and characters that you like really care about. And there are like not necessarily everything epic, but at least something that kind of moves it, I guess. And I felt like this game needed a bit more of something.
I kind of see where you're coming from. But like, yeah, so when you played Inside and Limbo, I felt like the more I played the game, the more I was kind of like, oh, I think this is going on. Oh, is it this? Like, I always kept having like new theories. I did not with Cocoon. And Cocoon, the entire time, I'm just like, what the heck what is this? I don't get what's going on. Like, okay, now there's machines, and now there's like, now I'm in a marsh. Like, I don't get what's going on. So that was, I think, kind of my issue. I just felt like the game, it didn't strike my imagination. And like, that's unlike Inside and Limbo. Like the end of Inside is wild. If you've ever played Inside, and when you play that game, you're like, oh, I think I get what's going on. And then the end's just like, nope, you have no idea what's going on. And it just blows your mind at the end.
Is it a bad ending?
It's weird.
Oh, okay.
it's I don't know if I want to spoil the game. But
well, Inside is actually on Game Pass, is it not?
I don't think Limbo is.
I thought Inside was.
If it is, then I don't want to spoil it. I will say. So, have you ever heard of the company called? Yep, Inside is on Game Pass. Okay, so I shouldn't spoil it. So at least give a teaser. So have you ever heard of the sex toy company called Real Dolls? Or is it Real Sex Dolls? I think it's just Real Dolls.
No.
Well, they partnered up with the people of Inside and created a thing that goes with the game. So I'll kind of let you paint a picture of what it like.
You talking about a?
No, it's nothing.
Oh.
It's nothing sexual, but it's something fleshy. That's what I mean. The ending is weird. I don't want to spoil it if we ever decide to play it or something.
I don't know what to think about
but
that.
But it's just weird.
I also don't want to think about that.
But yeah, they had a limited run of like a special edition that they created a figurine. It's nothing of sexual nature. It's just like if you played the game and you know of it, you're kind of like, oh.
Then why would they go with that company?
They wanted something that has that they do a really good job with a fleshy texture.
Okay.
and they're obviously kind of the experts in their
I'm
field.
really not liking this word fleshy.
I mean,
It's a new word that I'm like,
here we go. Javier almost bought it here on our Discord. I just never wanted it. It just seemed really weird. I was tempted. I would have loved to see this thing, but I never want to actually. I don't know if I'd ever want to own it. But anyway, so the story with Cocoon though, like, so that was just my issue. It was like, you know, the ending of Inside was just like, whoa, that was crazy. And the end of this one, I just kind of went, oh, okay. And usually with these games, each one there's always a collectible. And usually when you get all the collectibles, they usually have like a little more context. Like, oh, here's a little bit more of this story to kind of give you maybe some more things to think about. I collected everything, and my ending was the same as Liz. I saw Liz's ending. She missed one, and it was exactly the same. So I was kind of like, oh, okay. So, I don't know. That was just my first big disappointment. Anything else about the story?
there's not much to talk about.
No, I feel like we're going to burn this. But the gameplay. So the gameplay, as I said, it's like a 2.5D top-down kind of view of, you know, you're playing this insectoid creature who's just going around and moving mechanics and using these orbs that you're getting. You know, you end up getting 4 different colored orbs. You get an orange orb, which is kind of a desert planet, teal orb, or green if it's kind of a marshy swamp planet. You have a purple orb that's a weird spore, fleshy kind of world, and then a white orb, which is a bit more mechanical. So you have these like different worlds that you're going to, and each one of these orbs, you know, as you're progressing through them, eventually you fight a boss or like some sort of guardian. And once you beat the boss, the orb activates a special power, which gives you essentially a new mechanic to start solving these puzzles. But I wanted to start off. So this is, of course, a straight-up puzzle game, but there are boss fights. And I kind of want to ask you guys right away, what did you guys think of the boss fights? Did they feel out of place, or did you enjoy them?
It threw me off the first time, and I didn't quite know what I was doing because, like, just about every other mechanic in the game, there's really no explanation of what's going on. There's no dialogue, there's no narrator, there's no written anything. It's just, and there's one button. You move and you press A. So it took me, I don't know.
You can press start.
You can hit start, and you can turn on accessibility, which allows you to use all of the buttons, and that's it.
Oh, really?
But, yeah, it makes basically all of the buttons able to interact instead of just A. But outside of, I don't know, and I think I like quote unquote died twice before I kind of figured out what was going on. But beyond that,
wait, with all the bosses, like you've only died twice?
No, just like before I kind of figured out that it was like a boss fight / what I was doing. Once I figured it out, I don't think any of them were overly difficult, but I thought they were fun and they were a good shake-up to the game because even in themselves, they were kind of like little mini puzzles. They were certainly very complicated ones. They were, in many cases, easier than the game's puzzles, but I liked the aspect of it being kind of like a little action puzzle.
Yeah, I never really get excited about boss fights. I can't remember a game where I was like, oh, I love having it more difficult. But this game...
Hooray, difficult.
Yeah, I actually really liked the boss fights. And I thought that they were interesting. And I remember like there was a couple that I tried and then I just handed the controller to you because I don't like doing things over and over and over again. But overall, I liked them. I can't think of one that I got so frustrated with and didn't want to do it.
Yeah, I liked him. I thought it like mixed up the formula of you just solving puzzles. Then it's kind of like, you're doing this boss fight. And they each kind of added their own different mechanic. My favorites were like the last two, which kind of really gave you like when one of the boss fights gives you like a fun maneuverability, like
teleporting.
Yeah, there's one that gives you a teleporting. There's one that gives you like a jetpack. Like those ones to me were fun. Like once I'm actually doing like something different, I was like, yeah, this is cool. So those boss fights to me were fun. But the only thing that's just kind of weird whenever you play a game like this, like you don't really die. If you ever get caught by a boss, all he does is throw you out of the world and you just jump back in and you have to restart the fight. So it's when a game does that, it's just kind of like annoying where it's like, well, I can't lose, so I'm going to inevitably win. But it's still just like frustrating where it's like, start over. Most of these bosses you have to hit 3, maybe 4 times, and then you win. So they're not very long, but it was just some of them are just kind of frustrating where it's like, okay, I got to do this again.
How was it on the cloud? Because I know you said that there was one like time mechanic that you thought was hard on the cloud.
Yeah, at the very end, you got to do a like in Sea of Stars when you did the boomerang. You got to like hit A whenever the thing was coming back to you, the projectile. Yeah, they do add that mechanic at the end where a boss is throwing something at you. You got to hit A to like bounce it back and do ping pong. On the cloud, this game ran well, but that fight, there was one moment it took me like 10 tries, and I was like, "Here, Liz, let's see how you do it." She does it very first try, and I'm like, "Come on!" I was like, "That took me like 10 tries."
I sometimes get beginner's luck, not always, but if I'm not anticipating it, and also because you didn't tell me that you hadn't done well with it, so I didn't really like get nervous. I remember when I was a kid, it's completely off topic, but I don't know if it was for our birthday or what, but we went candlepin bowling, and me and my twin sister.
For people who don't know who are from New England, candlepin
sorry.
bowling is like skee ball, and bowling had a baby.
Yeah, but because my sister and I were both nervous to go first, and my mom made me go first, and I was like crying because I was I was nervous, and I didn't really, because there's like you do like what, like the 3 and that, and like I hadn't played it in so long, and I just didn't want to go first, and so I was like crying while doing it, and I got a strike.
Could you? That was like one of our first dates. As I took you candlepin bowling. Could you imagine? I was like, "All right, Liz, you go first." You just start crying. You have like PTSD.
I was a little kid, and I did it though. I was like, they were like, "You have to do it," and I did it. I cried, but I did.
Don't worry. There still would have been another date.
That's nice to know.
I'm just kidding. I probably wouldn't have. I'm just joking.
No, not if you cried over bowling.
Deal breaker, crying.
There's no crying in bowling, Liz.
Or dating. No pansies allowed.
You actually beat me that night too.
I did. I don't beat you very often with stuff like we played mini golf a lot in our dating years. Yeah. That was off topic. I apologize.
Get out of here.
Beginner's luck is what I was talking about.
Yeah, but yeah, the boss fights, I thought they were cool. The designs of them were interesting as well, but we're not going to get into that just yet. But as far as the gameplay goes, as I said, you're moving these orbs around and you're jumping between each of the worlds, which is a super cool mechanic because this game is essentially Inception. If you've ever seen that movie, it's dreams within a dream within a dream. And that's exactly how this game is. You're in worlds within worlds within worlds, and you're jumping through these worlds and you have to like connect them. The last, I'd say maybe, I guess last quarter of the game is when I actually felt like the puzzles were hard. Did you guys have to look up any of the puzzles or solutions?
I didn't. I was close twice, I think, maybe. But there was like that last, like, I'm going to try maybe this thing that I don't think I tried, and it just happened to, be the thing because I had tried everything else, and so I saved myself looking them up. But yeah, I liked them a lot.
I looked something up once. What was that YouTube channel?
Macca's Guide?
Yeah, one of those. And I forget what it was. But
you were helping me. It was the Moon
No,
Ancestors.
I did it separately. I looked up something.
I did look up Moon Ancestors after I went through the game, just to clean those up. But
yeah, I forget what it was, but whenever I look up a guide, it's usually over something really silly. Like I didn't see something, and then I'm like, oh man. But he's very helpful.
Yeah, a fun little tip if you want to try to go through and get all the collectibles on your own. I noticed it towards the end, because it doesn't tell you anything. The little collectibles, there'll be this little like floating oil, like black goop or whatever.
Yeah.
That kind of guide you to the Moon Ancestors, the collectibles, until you collect them. So if you're looking for them, that's your little visual cue. I mean, most of them are little side paths as well, so some of them are pretty easy to find, but I think there's actually a decent amount of them overall. So that little goop or whatever is a good indicator.
I actually figured that out playing by myself, so I feel like it's people probably won't struggle with it if
I
I
like
figured
you
it
were
out.
subtly calling Keith out there.
What?
Yeah,
That you're
apparently.
No, I just
like,
meant
I'm not very observant. And Liz is like, I did it right
No,
away.
what I meant is
figured
that like
out."
it is a very good tip. What I meant is that like once you find one, like you're right, Keith, like because it's off the beaten track.
No, ignore my tip, everyone. That is not a tip. It is a obvious thing.
No, I'm sorry. I feel like such a jerk now.
I am not upset at all.
That.
I just love. This is what, like the second time in a couple weeks now where this has accidentally insulted me and not meant to.
I just hate being rude. I don't mean to be.
I think it's the best part is I'm not even mad.
No.
And Liz feels worse than I do.
I get so embarrassed.
I feel like that's what just naturally happens to you, Keith. Like people might actually insult you, and they're like actually like even Dave, like when his wife laughed at you, you're like I don't care, but they like felt so bad. But no, Keith, that is a good tip. As Keith is saying, yeah, there's like these little black statues that are just like these oily balls. They're like that are lined up in a straight line. They're kind of an indicator that there's a moon sister nearby, which is a collectible. Every time you find one, it's an achievement. But I didn't look anything up. I actually found every moon ancestor on my own playing through because of that. Because I discovered it right away too. That it was like, oh, I noticed these little statues. It's like I think that's an indicator that someone's nearby. And so I was able, because of that, I was able to keep just playing through, and I found them all because they weren't very hard to find. There was a couple like slightly off the beaten path. The very last one, I was surprised I found. But I, once again, saw the statue, and then I'm like, well, where is it? And then I saw that there's like this little secret area, and it's like, oh, okay. But the collectibles were overall pretty easy, which is, once again, very surprising because in both Limbo and Inside, the collectibles were very hard to find. But in this one, they were actually easy. But, yeah, the puzzles. This is a puzzle game that is very accessible. So if you're someone who's like I don't like puzzles, they just get frustrating. This is a very... I don't want to say easy, because like I said, the last quarter gets really trippy of like you trying to figure out the solution, but it was fun. I thought the puzzles were at least really relaxing, because that's the thing. A puzzle game can get really frustrating. Like Talos Principle. I remember when we played that, I was like, this is not fun anymore. Like these are hard.
Well, because Talos Principle had points where you needed aim, you needed like a lot of precision, and if I recall, some points it didn't offer a lot of the precision you needed in its mechanics. But yeah, I liked it a lot. I kind of felt like the last 25% of the game was like 50% of my gameplay. And I'm not complaining about that. But it kind of slowed down because, as you said, the puzzles became a lot more in depth of like figuring out how you could like, in some cases, you were like teleporting yourself without teleporting yourself.
Yeah, it's trippy.
And yeah, so like that one was like when I was getting into those, it was like these are like really interesting. There was a couple that were annoying because I figured out what I needed to do, but if you don't set the thing just right, you need to go and reset like 3 layers of it, and it just becomes a little bit tedious. But those are few enough, and you know, you kind of screw it up once and you pretty much know how to fix it. So it's not like, okay, I have to try this 4 different ways. It's kind of just like, oh, I messed this one thing up, I know what to fix, carry on. But yeah, I loved the puzzles, and like I said, I think it was just enough. If this game stretched itself out into 10 hours, I would have been falling asleep by the end of it.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it found ways, obviously, to build more puzzles. But with what it offered, it was a perfect slice of puzzles and difficulty that I really appreciated.
It's like how you're describing the puzzles is, I always remember my mom knitting, and I always remember like if she screwed up like one loop or something like that, but she had multiple rows, and then she noticed it. She's like, you literally had to go back and like meticulously undo everything to get to that one spot that you screwed up. And that's literally how the last puzzles were kind of in this game. Is like, if you didn't set one thing right, you got to like undo everything really slowly, peeling it all apart to reset it and do it all again, which did get a little tedious on some of them. But I wish that, like, I kind of disagree with you, Keith. I wish the game was maybe a little longer, because I loved when the puzzles were getting really trippy in the end and doing this weird teleportation stuff. I wanted more of that. And unfortunately,
I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
That's when I was like checking out. I'm like, Andrew, you gonna help?
I know. I played like the last 30 minutes or so of your game, because I knew, I was like, these are going to be way too hard. And Liz even said, she's like, I'd rather just watch someone play. Yeah. So I was like, she's either going to watch a YouTube video or I'll just do it for her.
I forgot to say that. This is the type of game, like the beginning, I really enjoyed doing the puzzles. But once I get to the part where I kind of get lazy with puzzles too, because like sometimes Andrew was just sitting next to me when I was playing. He was like eating dinner or whatever. And I get lazy when he's next to me with puzzles. I'm like, Andrew, where do I go? But yeah, this is the type of game I love to watch people play instead of playing it myself. And maybe it's just because I'm bad at them. But yeah, I thought it was fun to watch. But yeah, right when we got to the trippy part, that's when I kind of got bored with watching.
Wow. You were bored watching?
Yeah.
So you should have played it, because I felt like those are the most interesting.
See,
I don't think it would change it.
One of my favorites was, and I was saying, like, you kind of have to teleport without teleporting. It was the bridge that you could only cross with a certain orb.
Yeah.
It was the one that, made the bridge visible, but you couldn't carry it back over and get the second orb and to find the path to get to there. Like that was one of those ones where I was like, I have exhausted like, it's impossible. I think I even reloaded it once, because like maybe like something glitched a little bit, and like it's something to. No, I had everything I needed. It just, I had to stop, like, evaluate and kind of go through it. I will say, I think kind of, was it Superland where we had said it? Like, if this game was a little longer and I had more opportunities to put it down and walk away, it would have absolutely been one of those games where the puzzles would have been like floating in the back of my head, like, okay, if I move this here, place that there, like I absolutely would have been doing these puzzles in my head when I put the gameplay down.
Same.
The game is weird too, where I feel like it looks really big. Like graphically, they make it look big, but it's actually kind of small.
Yeah.
And for me, I kind of wish there was more exploration, because they make it very easy for you to know where to go. I mean, I didn't notice right away that the little flying thing has a flashlight to show you which direction.
You get a little robot that opens doors for you every once in a while, and he has a flashlight that kind of guides you as to where your objective is.
Yeah, I didn't notice that, and even without that, like I even if I went the wrong way, I would eventually figure out where to go. And I also forgot to mention, I liked they were like little puzzles with like five symbols.
Yeah, they were a geography puzzle. So you have this 5 combo, 5 different shapes, and you have to figure out the combination to activate the door. And the combination is always somewhere within the environment. So you have to go around just like in this arena that you're in and try to figure out where these symbols are located, and then try to figure out how they're in what order they're in. I thought those puzzles, once again, change of pace, and I thought they were actually really cool.
What was your method for remembering?
Oh, this is actually a funny question, because I always just did the shape. There's a diamond, a triangle, a pentagon, an octagon, and butterfly wings was the other one I did. Yeah. And Liz had a different phrase for him.
Yeah. I don't remember. One of them was an animal face. One was a sun. And then I forget what I originally called the butterfly wings. I called them something else, but I don't remember what it was. And then you said butterfly wings, and it kind of stuck with me, but I don't remember. See,
I assigned them numbers. So the pentagon, I just did 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The butterfly wings I did as the 2, and then the circle with the slash I counted as 1, because it just had the 1 slash.
That's really smart.
So I would just give myself like a little 5-digit thing to remember every time. That
would have been easier. Because sometimes I'd screw it up.
It was very nice, yeah. Because like you said, all I had to do was just remember 5 digits and then just zip through it. Because there was one of the last ones I couldn't figure out how to see. I think it was like 2 of the numbers. So I was like, well, I have to swap this around. So trying.
Was it the reflection one?
Yes.
Yeah.
That one I either either guessing is kind of what you have to do, or I never found two of them.
I'm assuming it was the pillars that were closest to you. You had to go to the south end of the area you're in. There's like a little ledge, and it's like farther water where you can see the reflection.
Yeah, I think it was like the second and the fourth.
Yeah,
but either way, I found my method kind of made them pretty easy, but I still liked them a lot because the environmental aspect of them was what made them interesting. Like the different methods of how you had to find those were kind of cool.
Yeah.
Andrew, you said there was one that you couldn't figure out how you got the solution. You just did it by trial and error. Do you remember what that one was? Because I'm curious if Keith got it.
Yeah, it was a moon ancestor. The achievement for the moon's ancestor was called cartography. I kept wanting to say choreography.
And it was the 4 diamonds.
Yeah, you needed... so the very last orb you get is the white one, and it gets the ability where it can shoot a laser and activate crystals. And so literally you get to this arena and these crystals appear, and you have to hit the crystals in a particular order to activate the moon knight, or the moon ancestor. And I could not figure that one out. That one I literally just did by trial and error. I literally was just like, all right, I'll start with this crystal, this one. And I literally just did almost every combination until it gave it to me. I was like, I haven't looked anything up. I am not going to start now.
I feel like I can't remember that one, but I don't think I looked it up because I don't remember looking it up.
It's pretty easy to remember if you don't, like, because it's the only... Every other moon ancestor, for the most part, there was a couple that had a puzzle associated with them, a very easy puzzle, but that one was the only one that really like needed a mechanic.
Online, it said that there was a visual cue, but also like a music cue, like the music order. But I wasn't sure.
See, I listened, and like when you're hitting each of the diamonds, they sounded exactly the same. Because that was another one of my thoughts. I'm like, oh, maybe there's an audio cue, yeah, or the cartographer. And then I thought, the statues by him are kind of different heights a little bit. Maybe it's done by that. Nope, that's wrong. There's another little area that I was like, maybe it's some sort of visual thing hidden here, but nope, couldn't figure it out. I just did trial and error. Eventually got it free. It just took me a very long time. But I mean, that's one thing I've been loving. I love about the puzzles in Cocoon is they're all very small, as like Liz was saying. You're not doing these massive, expansive, like traveling different areas. Like, oh, that thing you saw in the very first room, 20 minutes ago, you got to remember that combination. Every puzzle was very condensed. There's only a couple platforms you're doing, a couple switches here and there, and then you're on to the next area. I loved the size of the puzzles. So as like he said, some of them are kind of difficult, but it's great that you can kind of put this game down or just like think about it, just be a little observant, see how things are interacting. It's like, oh, I get what's going on here. Because like that's there's no dialogue, but once you start figuring out what things are doing, as soon as you enter a room, you're like, oh, that's a button. That thing's going to let me teleport. That thing's going to activate a bridge. So I thought the puzzles were just very well designed, but nothing too frustrating. Yeah. But the pacing of Cocoon is fantastic. You're looking for playtime, 4.5 to 5 hours. Very simple. And as Keith said too, you can actually load the game. It has an autosave feature. So it does make the game great for cloud play. There was a couple times, like I never saw an indicator as to when the game was saving. So there was like 1 or 2 times where I'm like, oh, I think I'm far enough in the puzzle, or I'm at a next puzzle that maybe it saved. It didn't. But it was easy to just quickly recover my time because it does save quite frequently. But yeah, the load feature is essentially, as Keith said, like a level select. So if you miss any of these collectibles, you literally can just go back to that area and just collect them real quick.
Yeah, and if you're going back to collect them, pretty much every like guide you'll find has it marked out, like go to this percentage to start, and then it's usually real close to whatever percentage they give you. So it's easy to kind of clean things up at the end if you're like me and get it all in the way, because you were too dumb to notice the black goop that was there for you.
Sorry, Keith. But speaking of the black goop, though, I gotta say the visuals of Cocoon are awesome. The game has a lot of very geometric design of like how the environments look, how your character looks, and the art style of Cocoon is absolutely delightful.
I love that word, delightful. I feel like you say it quite a bit, and I really like it. I agree. I thought that I guess I'll call it the main character, the protagonist. I thought he was so cute. Or she, I don't know what it was. But
insect humanoid.
I love that they made it look bigger than it was. Like, I think that they had a lot of tricks up their sleeves when it came to the graphics. And so, I mean, obviously it's such a big part of the game without the dialogue and the story. And, you know, that was like the big wow factor. And so I really enjoyed the graphics.
Yeah, I couldn't quite tell if the environment was large or if my character was supposed to be bug-sized. And so everything just kind of seemed big. It had a weird way of, I don't know, kind of like you said, Liz, like it felt big, but I don't know if it was. And it was a really cool overall design. I know I was playing it with 5-year-old watching, and she thought every time I picked up the orb that I was putting on a different head for my character. She's like, why'd you change the head again? Wait, it's not. Oh, okay, I can see that now. But yeah, I overall I thought the environments were really cool. It's a pretty simple kind of artsy art style, I guess. But yeah, I thought it was fun.
Do you know what visual I kept getting in my head now that you mentioned about, like, I couldn't figure out if your character was small or big? I kept getting the image of Men in Black 1. At the very end, you know, the whole movie is them trying to save this galaxy that's on the cat. And then at the very end of the movie, at the very end of the movie, you find out that the galaxy are actually just marbles, and it's very large aliens that are playing with these marbles that are galaxies. Do you know what I'm guys talking about? Did you guys see Men in Black?
I did see Men in Black. I think it's been way too long. Like, I remember like the guy that would the alien went in the guy, and I remember I remember all of that, except I don't remember that ending.
Which, I guess your character is kind of cockroach-like. Yeah, that's what I kept thinking. I was like, is this game Men in Black? Because you're playing like a cockroach character, and you're moving these universes that are just literally marbles.
It's too cute to be a cockroach.
I know, he's more of like a cicada. But still, I think this game's just Men in Black. That's my theory.
It could be. It's not, but sure.
What do you mean it's not? This game's open for interpretation. You can't say I'm wrong, Keith.
Aren't you just glad he didn't say purgatory?
I mean, it is a little bit. I mean, that actually was a theory I saw, is that this game was meant to be like the Greek story. Greek, I think? Greek or Roman, of Atlas, the guy who was punished to hold the whole world on his back.
Oh. See, this is what I don't like. If you're gonna make a game that, you know, there isn't a lot of information, like, I wish that the creators would have like their thought process and what like they thought when they were making it.
I'm glad you're saying this, because this is literally my thought too. When I'm like playing this game and I'm like, what is, like, you're doing, like, you're flying through these weird things and you're on a weird platform, and it's like, what is going on? And so, like, and that's the thing too. Like, usually after these games come out, they always say like, oh, what's the story of the game? And they're always like, oh, you know, it's up for interpretation. Like Scorn did it, you know, and talked about Inside. That's what they said. Same with like Limbo. So like they always say like, oh, it's up for interpretation. But clearly they must have an idea.
Yeah, we want their interpretation.
Yeah, how do you go to your art director and be like, yeah, make like a platform that, you know, looks like a giant glob that has wings? Like, you obviously have to have some sort of vision, because like, how do you make art for something that's meant to be vague? Well,
because even if you have an abstract idea, as you're creating it, you must be thinking of a story or something in your head. And so, yeah, I almost feel like kind of cheated when you don't have that information. And I feel like I understand, like, they don't want to, like, they want other people to get their own ideas first. But, you know, if someone wants to know.
If you're an artist, please explain this to me, because I've always wondered this. It's same with, like, I mean, that's generally the purpose too of like artists when they create an artwork of like, oh, it's what the, you know, the person feels. But it's like, clearly you must have had an idea. Like, I never giving a bunch of markers and being like, I'm just going to draw squiggly lines and just hope someone feels something. Like, no, you obviously must have had an idea or a vision. So like, how do you have a vision when you don't have a story or something? I don't know. It's something that's always just made me curious.
I mean, I feel like, I don't know, because I'm no artist, so I can't speak much to it, but I think, you give more of an overall feel of like everything is very kind of biomechanical, and so you could describe the look and feel of the world without really needing a story, because no elements in particular drive the story forward. Like everything I ran into could have been completely bio, or it could have been completely mechanical, and at the end of it, I think I would have come away with probably the same estimated story of what I came out with, just based on what they did. But yeah, I did like that. I thought, that's just so kind of as another side note, I thought that everything was kind of cool with a little biomechanical look to it. Was it machine? Was it not? Who knows? We'll never know.
But I absolutely love this mechanic too. I think it's funny. Like when I first saw this game, it's like, oh, only on the Xbox Series S and X. And it's like, okay, this is like an indie game, but it totally makes sense because there's no load screens. Well, there's I would get one maybe early on in the game when you first boot the game up. But yeah, you're literally jumping through these worlds in and out, and there's no load screens. Everything is seamless. Like it's this really quick, like 10th of a second animation of you jumping in and out of these worlds. And I loved the graphical design too. At the end, you kind of start opening up these portals, but the art design of it is cool because it is another world, but like there's nothing behind it. It's like the other world. It's hard to describe, but I thought visually it was really, really cool looking, of having these worlds on top of worlds and being able to cut through them so seamlessly. But the thing I was like a little disappointed in, just because I wanted more of it, and that's the audio. The audio in this game is very good, but it just unfortunately only kicks in at certain moments, such as like boss fights, or when kind of a cinematic of a boss waking up, or, these small story elements that are going on, like music will really kick in, and the music is really good. But majority of the time, it's just silent.
See, I noticed the music one time when I was playing. And so for me, like I said earlier, if you're not going to have all these different elements, like make the music either epic or at least like set a mood.
I mean, it was epic. It just wasn't constant.
But it wasn't, I personally don't think it was very epic because I only remember noticing it one time, and it wasn't a time that I was crazy impressed. Maybe if I went back and purposefully listen to the music. But I think that when it comes to music and games, the best ones are the ones that I'm instantly like, oh my gosh, this music is amazing. And I keep listening for it because it's so awesome. And for me, it wasn't the vibe for me, I guess.
I did notice that it kicked in a lot. Like if you were getting to the end of solving a puzzle, or you were starting to put the pieces into place. So like I liked that kind of cue to it, that as I was hearing it, I knew, okay, I'm on the right track and I'm doing the right thing. It might not have been, I don't want to say super consistent to the point where I was looking for it, but I always noticed it when it happened.
Yeah. And like, that's kind of what I mean. I just wish it played out a little bit more. I think the fact that it was so sparing is like, I think why it more resonated with me when it was kicking in. I just wanted more of it. It was a tease. And then you can't really find it. It might be on Spotify, but it's really hard to look up because if you just type in Cocoon on Spotify, there's a lot of songs named Cocoon, and there's of course a movie called Cocoon. So it might be on Spotify, but I couldn't find it. But yeah, I like the soundtrack a lot. And even like the sound effects, your character makes like some fluttering noises here and there too, which I actually thought were really enjoyable. The little robot that you get also is really cute. Mm-hmm. It makes some cute noises when it unlocks doors. Yeah, I like the audio. I just wanted more of it.
Yeah, I love the audio.
The achievements though, absolutely recommend this game for achievement hunters because it's an easy 1,000 gamer score. Like I said, not a very long play time. I was able to find everything without even looking up a guide. So yeah, definitely recommend this game for achievement hunters.
Yeah, there's 17 achievements. You guys both got 1,000. I got 950. I missed one.
And you're like, I don't care to go back.
Well, the one that I was missing, you were helping me with, and I said, there's a moon ancestor nearby, and you're like, I know what I'm doing. And then you didn't get it. But you were helping me, so I didn't,
Yeah, I got that one.
Oh no, you didn't. It was behind.
You always just want to blame me
Yeah.
whenever something goes wrong in your game. You're like, it was Andrew's fault.
What?
You're like, it was just Andrew's fault. It's not my fault.
Hey, you beat the game for me. Like,
I know.
I wouldn't have even gotten 950. I'm just teasing. Sorry.
No, you're fine. But yeah, I guess we can start getting to our final thoughts here because there really isn't too much to talk about with Cocoon.
It's a short game with no story. I mean,
I loved that we just picked like a simpler game this week because I really did not have much time to play a video game this week. So I actually ended up just beating this game like right at the finish line, and it's like, all right, good, I'm ready to record. And my playtime I think was like 3 hours and 9 minutes. Like I actually beat this game pretty quickly. But yeah. So final thoughts for me. As I said, I played Inside and I played Limbo, so I had pretty high expectations a little bit for Cocoon. I knew that the story wasn't going to be like very obvious, with playing Inside and Limbo. Those stories weren't very obvious. I think just for me, it didn't make me think or ponder too much as Inside and Limbo did. To me, the entire time I just felt like, what the heck is going on? I never really had much thoughts. Like I said, the most thought I had was, this might be Men in Black. But, yeah, besides that, it was just like, I don't know about the story. Even at the end of it, I was kind of disappointed that it didn't give me more when I got all the collectibles. But, if you're not looking for a story and you're just looking for a fun, easy puzzle game, this is 100% right up your alley. The puzzles aren't super hard, but there was only a couple that really kind of made me stop and think and kind of scratch my head. But besides that, the other ones they were fun. They were just bite-sized puzzles. You had a picture-perfect arena of like, oh, this is the area I'm trying to solve. I have all I need right here. How am I doing this? The jumping between the worlds is a very cool, fun mechanic, and the game does a really good job with it. The game does a good job mixing up the pace by having these environmental puzzles you got to solve and boss fights. Yeah, this game, it's a very fun palate cleanser. But I'm only going to give it an 80 though, because I wanted a bit more of the story. I wanted something that really kind of made me think at the end, and this one just kind of made me go, meh.
I like Cocoon. I liked it top to bottom. I thought all of the puzzles.
Not from the sides though.
No, not the sides. Absolutely not. It's a weird thing to do, I guess, with a 2D type of game. Can't do that. But I thought all of the puzzles were really fun. I thought they were just difficult enough that it kept me engaged. It kept me wanting to play them, and again, it gets better. The end puzzles are just a lot of fun. Few a bit tedious, but nothing so difficult that it's, I don't know, gonna put you off of it. The more I have talked about it, I think I actually would call it a definite game. Not because it's the greatest one I've ever played, but because it's less than 5 hours and it's relaxing. There's really no stress. Andrew mentioned it. You don't die. If the worst thing that happens is you lose a boss fight and you lose 2 minutes and you go back and you do it again. But most of them aren't difficult enough that they take more than a couple tries, because it's just at worst figuring out what the little mechanic is that you need to beat the boss. So I think this is actually a definite game. But as a score, I still would lean probably towards an 83. It's not the greatest game I've ever played. It's definitely just worth playing if you need something to break up your gameplay and you need a little bit of stress-free gaming. Definitely do it.
I was torn between a 75 and a 77. So
Whoa.
I guess I'm going to do 76. Why, is that really low?
I don't know.
Ruthless. We're going to get
Well, okay.
letters from Jeopardy himself.
So the reason why this is low, I did like the game. I liked the mechanics. I liked the graphics. But for me, I really wanted more story, character development, or I wanted something to happen like with your character. The music kind of let me down a little bit.
I mean, not to spoil it, something does happen to your character at the end.
Okay, it does, but like, I don't know. It just, I'm a big story person, and for me, I just felt like there wasn't enough substance. So it's like, for me, it's like, make it like a straight puzzle game.
That's what I think is kind of funny. The person, our least favorite story person, Keith, is the one who gave this game the highest rating because he's like, yeah, it has no story. It's great.
Well, because they make you think that there's a story, but then they don't let you know.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like,
Open up for interpretation.
I know, I don't like that.
I don't have imagination.
Wow. But yeah, so for me, I just felt like it was missing a couple of like key features. And I also think it needed something special with the music. I don't know. But looking at Metacritic, 89 and for Series X, 9 for user score. Xbox One, 7.4. Our fourth and silent co-host is back.
0.
Yeah.
Keith.
Well, no.
There's no French translation.
There's no French translation needed because there's no word. So he's got to give it at least a point. So I go with 1.
It's 0. There were, in his review, 2 turds, 2 craps, the smell of rotten fish, and an SHIT. He, paraphrasing, he said that it's supposed to be fresh because the hipsters have decided so, and it's full of pretension. He went after this one. I thought his language was getting like better, and then he just reverted back to indie turd. And then looking at like the other user reviews, there were a couple people that thought the bosses were too hard. Or one of them said that it was frustrating to have to start over. But yeah, there were a couple of people that thought that the bosses were too hard.
I understand the frustration starting over because that was the thing I said of like, you're not dying. Like you essentially can't lose. It's just like, just let me.
I thought the first boss, it didn't erase all your progress.
No, it did.
It did?
Yeah. Like it would have been nice if like you failed like 3 or 4 times. It was just like, yeah, do you just want to progress? And just be like, yeah, like an accessibility option. But I don't care. I don't reduce points or anything for the game.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a thought I had. All right, but that's our review of Cocoon. But now I want to get into a discussion here.
Oh, is it about
about last week or the last time Liz was with us? So for a Spotify poll, I put on for our Sea of Stars episode, do girls' knees look like boobs? We've had 14 votes. 8 people said yes. 6 people said no. So apparently more people see girls' knees as boobs than they don't.
Can I also just say trolling? I did not vote. I didn't vote either.
I did throw yes because I texted you that night, Andrew, because I went and I was playing more. And on the podcast, I had said no that I did not. And then I started playing and I went, oh, I totally see it now. And then I didn't unsee it. So I don't know if I would have seen it if Liz didn't say it, or Andrew. Yeah, if Liz didn't say it, or whoever said it on behalf of Liz. If you said it on behalf of yourself, I don't remember. But yeah, I see it now, and now
I kind of feel bad. I'm putting boob images in people's heads. They're like, well, now I can't.
Yes, people are complaining about that. We're getting angry letters that people are like, I'm seeing boobs.
But I mean. Yeah, I was actually really surprised. I thought I was just like a pervert.
Okay, well, Keith actually is here to actually back up that statement. I guess I got to look back. I got to at least look at the clip that you saved because I can't. I don't want to. Never mind. I'm not going to finish that thought. I don't want to spoil things. But yeah. So I'm glad at least, Keith, that you were able to confirm that you actually did. Because like when I was seeing this, it literally was like 50-50 of like some people being like, oh yeah, I see it. Then like one day we had like 5 people say yes. And it's like, what happened? Like, did I just miss something?
You gotta wait for
Is it the movement?
It's the jiggle. It gives it the effect that you need. So yeah. You didn't mention it. Cocoon was kind of a listener request. Was it Kelly in our Discord had mentioned that that he finished it. Said it wasn't sure if it would be a good fit for Liz, but really impressive puzzle design. Less than 5 hours, made me feel like a genius over and over. That was his comment. So
his quick review.
Yeah.
I love when people leave their reviews. I love knowing what our listeners think about the games that we play. So
Yeah.
that's exciting.
So maybe we'll call it an unintentional recommendation. I don't know if it was intended to be, but if it was, we'll give them credit. And otherwise, yeah, again, more reason to be in our Discord. Just we're trying. So
Yep.
more people are joining.
Upcoming, we are going to be doing the list of requests for Stellaris. Because we had a podcast. We did have a new review on our Apple iTunes, and I had a hard time saying that we should play Stellaris. Keith is really kind of like about it, but man, I love Stellaris. It's gotta be fun.
Look at that. I don't know if you can see it because the microphone's covering it, Keith, but he just has this crazy smile when he's talking.
I actually started playing it again because I finished Cocoon, and then I was like, I got some time. It's like, let me boot up Stellaris. And I was like, this is great. But I don't think we're doing that next week, though. But we are going to be doing upcoming. We also did get a request to do Star Wars Battlefront. But if you have any game suggestions, please go to GamePassGrabBag.com. You'll find the links to all of our things, including the link to our Discord. If you want to join us, you can watch us live record on Tuesdays around 8:30 EST. Sometimes we're a little bit later, but it's around 8:30. But you'll also find our email, our Facebook, everything. Please give us game suggestions. We love having game suggestions. And as Liz said, if you also have played the game and want to give a little review, we'll read it on the podcast. But I've been your hardcore gamer, Sandra. You can find me next week's at Firebird0952.
I've been Keith. I don't know. Like I said, I think it was an unintentional recommendation. I think we read Kelly a bunch. So we're gonna skip that part this week. Not looking forward to Stellaris. I don't really know why. I'm just not. So I'm just putting that out there. And
I feel like it has multiplayer, Keith. I will play with you and guide you.
I honestly don't know why I don't want to play it. I'm already not looking forward to it.
It's civilization in space.
Spaced out.
Just hearing that phrase, it sounds hard, and I will take your help for the multiplayer as well.
But that actually is the reason why we're kind of delaying that. Liz made the point of we've done a lot of space games recently, and it's yeah, we kind of have. So that's why we did Cocoon, because we're technically this is kind of a space game too.
We really have this year, though.
I know.
We love space.
Well, that's why we're probably going to do a spooky game soon. But
I'm very excited.
Are you really? We really have not done a lot of spooky games.
I know. Usually the games that scare me are the ones that are not supposed to be scary.
It's the best part about them.
Yep. What's your outro, Liz?
Oh, I'm Liz Noob. Gamertag, come on, I'm Dean. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Liz Noob. Noob is EW.
All right, everyone. We love you all. We'll see you again next week.
Bye, guys. I forgot we were doing outros.
Bye.